Tag along with Amy and Jamie while we meet the authors. Right here on Amazon Live. Ask questions to win a prize from your favorite author's life. So come on, just tag along with Amy and Jamie while we meet the authors. Right here on Amazon Live. Ask questions to win a prize from your favorite author's life.
Woo! We're back. Hello. I'm Amy Honey.
I'm Jamie Honey.
And we've got a few people entering. Thank you for the follow, Michelle. We've got a few people in the chat on Amazon, and we are very excited that you're here. If you're coming in from another platform, come on over to Amazon. Join us over there.
That's right. I know we're streaming out to multiple platforms right now, all over the world. So if you're on one of those other platforms and you want to connect, you want to ask the questions, they're going to happen on the Amazon Live. So just click the link and come on over here and drop the questions in the chat. We'll randomly check the other chats, but that's the primary place to be, and that's where you're going to get huge discounts of some of the authors' books here today. And
Jenny just joined us. Welcome, Jenny.
Hello.
Welcome back. We're glad you're here.
It's actually Jenny's birthday.
It is Jenny's birthday today, and I am super excited about the guest that we have coming on.
OMG, and I rarely say OMG, but OMG, this guy is a rock star.
Yes.
Especially in my field that I've studied over the last 30 years, I think.
Yeah, and I don't get nervous very often, but you guys saw me get really nervous with Barbara Huson, and you might see me get a little nervous with Dr. Bradley Nelson because I'm a huge fan as well. So let me tell you a little bit about him. He was a veteran holistic physician. Is one of the world's foremost experts on natural methods of achieving wellness. My spinach. He's trained thousands of certified practitioners worldwide, including my husband, to help people overcome physical and emotional discomfort by releasing their emotional baggage. This is so important, you guys. His best-selling book, The Emotion Code, which is available right there, and it's actually on Audible. I believe it's $0, so you can grab it for no money. It's free today. What? Yeah, you can grab it.
It's a better deal than when I first got it.
I know, you're right.
But the information in it is so valuable. You have to grab this and you have to follow through on learning some of the information, which I'm interrupting. Let's get Amy introduce the awesome guy so as we can have him on to chat.
Right. So his best-selling book, The Emotion Code, provides step-by-step instructions for working with the body's energy healing power.
Yeah.
And there's a new version that's out as of May in 2019. And so he's going to tell us so much more than I can tell you. I could go on and on about this guy, but I'm going to let him talk to you guys. So
it would be a half-hour show just us introducing Holly's wonderful attributes.
Hey, Dr. Brad, how's it going?
Fantastic. It's great to see both of you. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. So we just had
awesome to see you again.
We had Evans join us and Loki join us. And you guys, Jamie will go ahead.
Loki, Jenny, Michelle, you guys are all here. Thank you very much. And we're going to put them on the prize wheel?
I was thinking so, yeah. Let's put them on the prize wheel.
All right. Jen's going to jump over to a prize wheel.
Excellent. Ooh. So Dr. Bradley Nelson, like I love what you do with the Emotion Code. I have been very close friends with lots of chiropractors and a big believer in chiropractic. And many of them used some similar kind of things. But I found it to be very effective because in my mind, if there's any kind of dis-ease or discomfort in the body, it's probably an emotion. It probably starts with emotion. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. 90% of the physical pain that people have is actually due to emotional baggage, which sounds impossible. It sounds unbelievable, but it's actually true. We've been proving it over and over and over all over the world now. We've got over 8,000 practitioners now of the Emotion Code in 80 countries around the world. And we're all finding the same thing, that it's absolutely true that physical pain, 9 times out of 10, has emotional baggage as the underlying reason. Now, if you fall down and you break your nose on the sidewalk, well, there's that kind of pain too from trauma. But most of the pain that people have that's chronic, that isn't going away, is actually from emotional baggage. It happens all the time. And it's not only physical pain, But our emotional baggage also is the biggest underlying cause of our depression and our anxiety and phobias and panic attacks and PTSD and eating disorders and self-sabotage of all kinds. And so there's even more. In all of these years, 33 years that I've been doing this now, every disease process that I have seen as a holistic doctor working with people for about 20 years always had an emotional component. Now, I want you to think about this. If you have some kind of a symptom in your life, whether it's mental or emotional or physical, if you're dealing with any of these things we've talked about, or if you've been diagnosed with some kind of a disease process, it's almost without question that there is an emotional component to that problem. And so the emotion code is designed to help you find whatever that emotional baggage is and remove that emotional baggage. And you can do this yourself, or like I said, we've got practitioners all over the world that can do it for you. And because it's energy medicine, it can be done live and in person, or it can also be done at a distance. And so we have all these practitioners around the world, and most of them work with other people that are in other countries, most of whom they'll probably never actually meet, but many of whose lives will actually be changed. So it's pretty exciting stuff, really.
Well, we use it a lot. So Jamie is certified in the emotion code. In fact, he's certified before we met you. And then, we met you. And it was really great.
I know who you are.
and we use it. He uses it on all. I mean, he probably on a daily basis, I'd say he uses it for one of our family members. So it's been really fabulous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy method to learn. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about it, really, is that it's so simple that kids can learn how to do it. And they are around the world, and they're getting great results. Sometimes it takes longer for adults to learn how to do it than kids, because kids don't know what they aren't supposed to be able to do.
Right. So I'm nervous to ask this, but would you like to demo it on me? So I'm
Sure.
nervous that my own personal baggage is going to come out, but I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you don't have to have any kind of symptom at all to use the emotion code, but I'll ask you if you do have anything that's going on right now that's bothering you in any way.
And it can't be me. It has to be there with you.
Exactly.
Can you emotion code his attitude? No, I'm just kidding.
My attitude's fine. I don't know why you would say that.
I don't know.
Okay, well, I've got a couple things. So I've had a chronic hip pain, but it's been going away. I've been using these patches. It's been helping.
Okay.
But it's still a little bit there. So maybe we could maybe that. Let's try that.
Because the patches are responding to your physical sensation, but the underlying energetic cause
might still be there.
still be there.
Because I'm having to use them still. So.
Could be. So on a 0 to 10 scale, how would you rate your discomfort level in the hip? 0 being no discomfort and 10 is, go to the ER. I'm
feeling it. I'd say it's a 4, maybe.
About a 4. Okay, so that's significant that you're feeling it. So what we have is we have a chart of emotions here. Okay, this is what the book looks like, the emotion code. Okay, and we have a chart of emotions that you'll see also in the book. And this isn't something that you have to have. The chart's in the book, and you can find them online and so on. But it's just called the emotion code chart. There are 60 emotions in this chart. It's divided up into 2 columns and 6 rows. And so when we're working with somebody at a distance or live and in person, what we do is we talk to their subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind of the individual knows exactly what emotional baggage they have. And so the emotion code is simply a way to decode what a person's emotional baggage is. Okay, so first thing we'll do is we'll take a moment and have a moment of silence so that we can, so I can ask for some help from up above. I happen to believe in a higher power, and that's one of the things that we teach people is that if you try to do this on your own, under your own power, you're kind of limited. But if you ask for help from that higher power, if you believe in a higher power, then that's great. It's not a prerequisite for this, but it does help. So give me just a second here. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do now, I'll be using this method of muscle testing. Now, in order for us to tap into the subconscious mind of another person or our own subconscious mind, we have to have some way to get those answers. And we use muscle testing, which was developed originally back in the 1960s by Dr. George Goodhart. And this is kind of a modification of that, where we're simply asking questions and then getting answers. And I'll be getting answers on my own body. The body is strong when you make a congruent statement. The body is a little bit weaker for a few seconds when you make a statement that is incongruent or untrue or negative. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be working on Amy at a distance. Now, I don't have any idea where you guys are, but it doesn't matter, because in quantum physics, there are some very interesting principles that basically tell us that we really literally are connected, all of us, and that we can entangle our energies. It's a principle in quantum physics known as entanglement. We can entangle our energies at a distance, and then we can actually do something that in physics is called collapsing the wave function of whatever's going on into a new, different reality. It's kind of complex. I have a new book coming out that's going to explain it in more detail. But
cool.
Here's what it looks like, essentially. First thing I want to know is, and I'll be testing on myself here, I'll be using the ring in ring method. So what you'll see is that my fingers will stay together if the answer coming from Amy's subconscious mind is yes. The rings will break apart because my body will be slightly weaker if the answer coming from Amy's subconscious mind to mine is no. So the first thing I want to know is, are we connected energetically? In other words, is our energy entangled so that we can work together? And the answer is yes, that's strong. So what I want to know is, by the way, which hip is this?
You know what? It's the right hip, but I might want to switch it to my lungs, because just because I think that's more severe than my hip right now.
Oh, yeah.
If that would be okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go ahead and do your hip first, see if we can't make a difference there, and then we can do the lung. Okay.
We don't have to do them both. I don't want you to do a whole healing session on me here.
What's really great, folks, is
I can teach as we go.
Yeah.
And show everybody how this works.
That this can happen really quickly, because
it can happen really quickly.
At the speed of light.
Which hip did you say it was?
Right hip.
Right hip. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So what I want to know is, we'll go ahead and just see what we can find really quickly here on the hip. Is there a trapped emotion that we can release? Now, trapped emotion is an emotional energy that's gotten trapped in the body during some emotional event, literally our emotional baggage. Do you have a trapped emotion we can release now that is contributing to this trouble in your hip? And the answer that I get is yes. Now, that's coming from your subconscious mind. So what we do now is we look at the chart of emotions, and we simply ask, and I have no idea what emotion this is, but is this emotion listed in the chart in column B? And the answer is no. So that means it has to be in column A. So we've eliminated half the emotions on the list. It's in column A. Is it in one of the odd rows? There are 6 rows. Is it in one of the odd rows in column A? That's yes. So we have 15 emotions left out of 60. Is it in row 1 in column A? No. Is it in row 3 in column A? That's a yes. So is the emotion crying? No. Is it discouragement or rejection? So the emotion is rejection. And the question now that we ask is, do we need to know more about this? Because sometimes the subconscious mind will want us to dig a little deeper and bring a little more to conscious awareness before it will allow us to release that energy and close the loop on that emotional event. So do we need to know more about this? Actually, we don't. So what we'll do is I'll just take this magnet, and I'm going to swipe it over my governing meridian, which goes from the tailbone over the top of the head. And just a few swipes there. And just like taking a credit card out of your wallet and wiping a magnet on the magnetic strip, and it erases the data that's contained therein, and now you need to get a new credit card. That's how we release these trapped emotions. It's the same thing. So let's ask, did we release that trapped emotion from you? Yes. Okay. So why don't you do this? Just maybe move around in your chair a little bit, okay? Maybe move your knees up and down a little, or even get up and walk for a second if you want. Oh, there you go. Okay. Now sit back down, and it was about a 4. And how would you say it is now on a 0 to 10 scale?
I'd say it's probably a 1.
Probably a 1. Okay, that's pretty good.
Little there, but yeah.
Okay.
1.
So
Yeah.
there's awareness, but not the
Awareness, but not
the pain sensation as before. Well, that's awesome.
Okay, good. Now, it's not unusual at all, you see, when we do this work, and you can learn how to do this yourself. When people are in pain, it's really fun because, again, 9 times out of 10, that pain is emotional baggage, and you release some emotions and you see the pain go away. It's the most addicting thing. It's kind of unbelievable, really, but you have to try it to see that this is actually real, that we're not making this up. So, all right, what's going on with your lungs?
Well, I had COVID in 2019, the very beginning, and I believe, I don't think there's a term for it, but people are calling it long COVID. My acupuncturist calls it dampness in the body. So, I don't know. But it's still, I just can't seem to get rid of the phlegm or the cough.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ever since 2019.
If you tried taking a deep breath now, how would you rate your ability to take a deep breath on a 0 to 10 scale?
Not good. Let's see. It's like clogged. So
okay.
The ability on 10 being I can and 1 being I can't.
10 being your ability to take a full, really deep breath. Where would you say you're at?
Oh, I'd say it's a 7, 6 or 7.
Okay.
I mean, I can force a deep breath, but it's going to make me cough.
Yeah. Okay. I got it. Well, let's see if we can't make a change there. Most of the symptoms that people have are actually due to their emotional baggage. It's really astounding, but people are finding out this is real. So let's ask this question. Do you have a trapped emotion we can release now that is contributing to these lung symptoms that you've described? And the answer is yes, you do. Okay. So we go to the chart. And we've got 2 columns. So we'll ask, is the emotion in column A? No. So it's in column B. Is it in one of the odd rows in column B? Yes. Is it in row 1 in column B? No. Is it in row 3 in column B? No. So it's in row 5 in column B. So those emotions are conflict. Is that it? No. Is it creative insecurity? No. Is it terror? No. Is it unsupported? No. Or wishy-washy? No. So here's the thing. When you're taken to a column and a row in the emotion code and you can't identify the emotion in the, none of them turn out to be what you're looking for. That's a clue that the emotion was actually inherited. Now, we inherit emotional energy at conception from our parents. And I think just about everybody inherits something. And some of us inherit more than others. But our parents might have received some of this emotional energy from their parents and so on. And so these can go back sometimes for generations, but your subconscious mind knows all about this. So let's ask, is this an inherited trapped emotion? And your subconscious mind says yes. Okay. So is it inherited conflict? No. Is it inherited creative insecurity? No. Is it inherited terror? And that's a yes answer. Inherited terror. So scientists are finding out that animals actually do pass down traumatic memories. They're finding out that animals will do this for about 14 generations. With human beings, it can go back even further, usually not more than about 25. But in your case, let's find out where this came from. Did you get this from your mother? And the answer is no. So it came from your father. That's the only other possibility.
Wow. Okay, interesting.
And did he get this from somebody earlier? He did, from his father. Yes. Okay. So it originated, well, does it go back even further? It does, actually. So this goes back further. Does it go back 10 generations? No. 9 from you? No. 8? No. 7. It goes back 7 generations total from you. So that's, roughly a couple of 100 years, give or take. And so let's ask, do we need to know anything else about this? We don't really. So, but now, and here's the thing, okay? Now you mentioned that you had COVID and since then you've had this congestion. But what you have to understand is that in the body, you can have something like this from birth that will create kind of a weakness in there. And so when COVID comes along, you get sick, and then you don't really recover from it like you should because of this pre-existing imbalance in the energy field that now we're going to release, and we'll see what kind of a difference it makes. Okay. Now, when we find an inherited trapped emotion like this, we use 10 swipes to release it because we're releasing it not only from you, but also from, in this case, your father and his father and all those other generations all the way back. And at least that's what the subconscious mind of every single individual tells us for years and years and years of doing this work. So that's all I can say. All right. So did we release that successfully? Yeah. Did it also release from all those ancestors? It did. Now, what I want you to do is maybe get up and move around a little bit if you want to, and try breathing a little bit. And it was about a 7 before.
I walked over to get my water.
Okay.
She's multitasking,
Yeah.
walking and getting her.
My
that's
breathing
fine.
has opened up considerably a lot. Like I'm like, it's not. There's not the. Did you hear? You could hear. There's not the raspy.
raspiness.
There's the raspy, and the breathing is gone.
Oh, good. Okay.
But
So
I
if it
still
was about a
feel
7, how would you rate it now?
the ability to take in a big breath. I'd say it's like a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was
Okay,
a
great.
7 before.
No, it was low. Wait a minute.
You said 7 last time.
Okay, so if my ability was the ability to do it at a 10, then it's at a 7 or 8. My ability not to do it would be, I don't know, I'm confused on the numbers.
Okay.
That's obvious.
Well, it's improved anyway.
It's improved. Whatever it is, it's improved.
So before you were
That's
using 7 as my inability, and now
Yeah.
you're using 7 as your
The ability, yeah.
So
yeah.
before it was a 3, now it's up to a 7 or 8
Yeah, I'd
for
say
your
that, yeah.
ability to take in a full deep breath.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Got it. Well, fantastic. So,
Yeah.
so in a nutshell, I mean, that's how this works. And I tell people, and tell people for years, look, learn how to do this, and it's easy. You can learn it in the book. And the first time that you try this on a loved one or a friend, and you see an immediate result, you're going to get hooked on this. And the first time that you do this and you see an immediate change on someone that's on the other side of the planet or on the other side of the country, your life is going to change in that moment. It's inevitable. And that's what's
and it's
happening
so
all over the world.
fascinating because like before you said it was terror, I knew it was going to be terror.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew that it had to be that emotion out of all of those. But I thought it was going to be on my mom's side because I was adopted. And when I was born, my mom was in terror at that time because she had been having an affair with another man. And so her husband kicked her out. This is in 1969. So she's out on the street with no ability to own a credit card, no ability, just by herself. She's literally on the street and pregnant. And the dad, I still don't know who he is. And I'm pretty sure he was terrified that she was about to have a baby because I think he was married too at the time. So but just to know that there's a backlog of that terror that he probably did have in that emotion, in that moment, he probably was terrified. It probably was terror. And inherited as well.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, this one actually originated, this emotion of terror originated a couple of 100 years ago. So, you have no way of knowing what was going on then, but this is through your biological father, through his line, 7 generations back from you in that line. Someone had something very scary that happened. And, it's been so interesting over the years, to work with people who, whose great-great-grandfather was in some kind of a war, or their 8th great-grandmother was in the pogroms, or was a slave or whatever. And to find the emotional baggage that's been passed down is just absolutely fascinating. And the results from removing emotional baggage, whether it's your own that you picked up during your own lifespan from birth until now, or whether it's something that was picked up at conception from an ancestor, the results can really be quite amazing and life-changing.
That's awesome. And Lord knows I've picked enough of my own baggage up through this. Tim, go ahead.
And just speaking from experience, folks, it is quite impressive and amazing when because I was introduced to the book because people knew that I was into different forms of energy healing, and energy being the what everything is created from, and it's very exciting, the quantum physics, all those elements. They're like, hey, have you done this book? I'm like, no. I'm like, so I got it. I got the digital version, which you guys can take advantage of right now and get this information. So I did that. And then I'm like, this is phenomenal. And there's a course that I could now get certified in the understanding of it. I'm like, well, I want that. I want to be able to confidently be able to do this for myself. First, I was on like, heart wall, there's something stopping my heart from fully expressing my soul. Then yeah, I want to fix that. So my first desire was I'm like, well, I can do it for my wife, for my sister. I can help other people. And so then I went and did the course. And then through that process, I've been able to help many people, truly thrilling. Yet there were times where I thought, oh, well, I know what this is, but my muscle testing's like, what do you mean I got to know? I'm pretty positive. So my subconscious mind was more connected to the energy and more aware. And so I go through the journey of trying to find out what it was from what I learned in the book and then the course. And I discovered things like I myself was like a time traveling detective to find this one little moment that's put everybody off kilter from that point forward, put that person off kilter. It truly is thrilling and exciting. And of course, I've got certifications in Reiki, other energy healing modalities, hypnosis, always. And then I came across this and I'm like, this is my go-to.
It just cuts to the chase.
I'm like, this is the quickest, easiest,
fastest, quickest,
and most soulfully honest process that I've discovered. And I'm so grateful that you formulated it, created it, and make it so accessible for people to do the same thing.
And it makes it, well, to me, it's logical. Because if you think about DNA, and we still don't know everything about DNA, but why wouldn't things be passed down in our DNA? Like they still haven't uncovered everything that our DNA does, but it does a lot more than we think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Hey, PC Phil just joined us, and Ginny said, amazing. Doris just joined us. We've got a bunch of people. You guys, if you have any questions for Dr. Bradley Nelson, ask away. His book is highlighted below. You can purchase it. And then there's also, you can get the Audible version for $0. It's free. So just grab it. If you want an actual hard copy of it, you can get the hard copy of it as well. That's available too. So one of the things that impressed me that I was watching Dr. Bradley Nelson do during this was he was talking and he did exactly 10. So he counted and talked at the same time. That was impressive.
Thank you. It's taken me years to develop that skill.
You've done that once or twice. But I would like you to talk for a moment on the heart wall because he brought it up and I don't think that's something most people know about.
Well, this is one of the least known, but yet most important, I think, discoveries that is available right now to us. Here's what happens. First of all, let me set the stage. Back in the 1960s, when doctors first started doing heart transplants, it didn't take long before they noticed that some of their patients would come back to them and report strange things. They would report that their taste in music or food or sports had totally changed. Or they had memories of being in places that they never in their lives had ever visited. Sometimes they would say that their handwriting had totally changed. And in every case, when these people were taken and connected to the family of the donor, the heart donor, they would find out, oh, yes, our daughter loved baseball. And so now you love baseball and you didn't before. That's kind of weird. Or they'd say, well, yes, that's our son's handwriting that you have now. That's bizarre. Or they would say, well, yes, our daughter visited Rome every year. And now you have memories of being in Rome, but you say you've never in your life ever visited there. I mean, crazy stuff. There are whole books written about. This is called cellular memory. Well, the ancient peoples of the world believed that the heart was the seat of the soul and the source of love and creativity and romance and really the core of our being. And in the West, in Western biology, we've never paid any attention to those old ideas, just believing that those people didn't have the kind of equipment that we have today. Now we know we're smarter than they were. We know the heart is just a pump. That's all it is. But actually, it wasn't until the 1970s that they discovered that the heart has actually got a lot of gray matter and white matter in it. And there's what they refer to as a little brain in the heart. And that brain that is in your heart stores the memories of the things that you really love. And I believe, really, truly, the heart itself is all that the ancients believed it to be. the seat of the soul, the source of our love and romance, and the core of our being, and so on. So think about this. Have you ever had a time in your life when you felt like your heart was going to break? When you had that physical sensation, like there's an elephant that's standing on your chest, or like you can't breathe, like you're choking. That kind of feeling happens, when maybe somebody close to you is in trouble or has died, or maybe your relationship has died, or you're being really hurt. So what happens in those situations is that your heart is under assault. And because the heart really truly is the core of your being, your subconscious mind will come up with a remedy for that, to try to protect your heart from being broken. And what it will do is it will put up a wall around that heart made of layers of your emotional baggage, your trapped emotions. And we call this a heart wall. And there are thousands and thousands of stories from all over the world from people that they've sent in about this. We have over 10,000 stories on our website that people have sent in about how powerful it is to have this work done. And one of the very first stories that I collected about this is actually in the book, was a nurse came in to see me for neck pain. She was 38 years old. And as I was talking with her, she told me that she was single and she hadn't dated in 8 years, and she was never going to date again. And she was an attractive woman. And I thought, well, gee, that's kind of strange. I said, why do you feel that way? You haven't dated in 8 years. You're never going to date again. You're basically celibate. And she said that 8 years before, she was really deeply in love with this guy who broke her heart and dumped her. And so when I checked her, I found she had this wall. And by the way, how to do this is all in the book, in the emotion code. She had this wall around her heart. There were 3 emotions making up this wall, this energetic wall. It's an invisible wall. You can't see it, but it's there. And so I started releasing these. Just probably took me 10 minutes to release all 3 of these layers. And all of a sudden, the last emotion was gone. That wall around her heart was gone. And instantly, the neck pain was gone because it was being caused by this wall. And so she left the office feeling totally fine and didn't come back for 3 months. And when she came back into my office, I remembered her immediately. And I said, hey, I haven't seen you for a while. How are you? She said, my neck has been fine since I was here. But she said, you cleared that heart wall for me. And that really works. She said, about 2 weeks after I was here, I ran into my childhood sweetheart, and he has been living right around the corner from me for almost 8 years. And we're dating and we're in love. And I think he's going to ask me to marry him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I thought, wow, what an amazing shift, right?
That's
now,
awesome.
Think about this in your own life. What we find is that 93% of people have put up this wall. Think about your own life. I mean, did you used to cry yourself to sleep at night when you were a kid, or did your parents argue or go through a divorce? Have you been through a divorce? Anybody that's been through a divorce or been a child of divorced parents has a wall. I mean, 93% of people have one anyway. If you don't have one, you're kind of in the minority. But it makes it, if you've got a wall like this, it makes it, you tend to feel depression, anxiety. It's harder for you to feel positive emotions, easier for you to feel negative emotions. It makes it harder for you to really connect with other people. And it makes it more difficult for you to give and receive love, because that is an energy. And so there are lots and lots of stories. There's a whole chapter in the Emotion Code book about this phenomenon. But it really is the most important part of the Emotion Code, because if you've got a wall around your heart, it's going to handicap you as far as creating the love that you want in your life, but also the abundance in your life, in not only financially, but in every other way. And the reason why is because the best creative ideas that you will ever have in your whole life will not come from this brain. They will come from this brain in your heart. But if you've got a wall around that heart that has been put up during your life from the garbage experiences that you've been through, then you're handicapped in that way. So the nice thing is you can learn how to take down that wall yourself and do it yourself. You can go to our website at discoverhealing.com. You can find a practitioner near you or on the other side of the planet that can work with you. Either way, it's the same thing.
That's amazing.
And we've got a practitioner here too. We've got Jamie, and
Exactly.
he can help you
One
too.
of because of the COVID and the remote thing, the opportunity to do this remotely for people has been phenomenal. And part of, like I was saying before, you surprise yourself with answers. I was helping a lady in Canada. So it was like we're in Las Vegas here. So it was miles away. I didn't know this person. It was a friend of a friend. And they said, oh, Jamie might be able to help. And I'm like, sure, we'll get on a call. We'll see if I can help. And so I discovered some information. And I'm like, this is an inherited emotion. And they're like, what? So I went through that explanation, and I could feel them going, yeah, that sounds a little too far out there.
That's kind of hokey.
And then I went through, it's like, okay, so it's going back to great-grandmother. She was about the age of 26, and something happened at that point in time. Does anything come to mind? She goes, I can't think of anything. That's when she left her home country and moved here. I'm like, well, that could have been a bit of the shock that we're talking about. It's called culture shock.
No stress there.
Yeah. Everyone, your friends, your family, and everyone,
Yeah.
and escape something that was happening so you could move to a new country. I'm like, that created an emotion. She goes, oh, yeah. Well, and then she started to rattle off all the associations that she's experienced in her life that felt the same. It's like, well, yeah, when I was at work and I had to shift and get this new job, and I just was terrified and I didn't know why. It didn't make sense. I'm like, yeah, you're moving to a new location, and that's triggering that emotion to resurface.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so it's very exciting when you get to be able to help people. I'm like, so that was 15 minutes. I'm like, well, all of that. She goes, very happy now. I get feedbacks now and then going, oh, thank you. Yeah, this has changed. That's changed. It's a powerful opportunity to be able to learn it for yourself and to help everyone you care about, and also become a practitioner and use it as a source of income if you desire.
Yeah, and actually we have Doris asking a question.
Yes.
He says, I had a great massage therapist who used to talk about memories being stored in muscles. Different take on muscle memory. Is there a chart where certain types of memories are stored, or can any memory be stored in any muscle?
Yeah, that's a great question. And these energies, these trapped emotions, they can lodge anywhere. So it's not just muscles; it's internal organs. They can lodge in the brain, in the head, in the neck, in the hand. Most of them will lodge in the torso of the body. But in all these years, the only connections that I have seen are where trapped emotions will lodge, and there sometimes is a metaphysical connection. In other words, if you feel like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you're feeling an emotion of maybe grief about that emotion will tend to lodge maybe in the shoulders. If you're having a hard time stomaching what's going on in your relationship or something, a trapped emotion of maybe disgust or resentment might lodge more likely in your stomach. So there are these metaphysical connections that sometimes happen, but they seem to be, other than that, they seem to be fairly random. I will tell you one story. There was a woman that came into me when I was in practice many years ago. And she was about, I think, 74 or 5 years old. And the very first thing that we found, it was her very first visit, and the very first thing we found was that she had a trapped emotion of sorrow or sadness. And I traced it back, doing muscle testing, traced it back to 1963. And I thought, gee, 1963, huh? And I asked, well, was this about JFK's assassination? And it was. And when I found that, she actually burst into tears. And then she told me that when JFK Jr. died in the plane crash back, I think it was in the 80s, it all came back all over again. It was the death of another JFK, and she couldn't even work for days. All she could do was cry. And I thought, okay, well, there's an exaggerated response really by a person who doesn't know JFK Jr. And that's one of the things that these things will do. These trapped emotions will make you feel emotions more keenly and can kind of really disrupt your life. So I wanted to know this energy. You see, when you trap an emotional energy in the body, it's like a ball of energy. Literally, they're invisible. You can't see them. It took me a long time to figure this out, about 17 years actually. But a trapped emotion is a ball of energy from about the size of a baseball to about the size of a softball, and they'll lodge in the body someplace. So I wanted to know where this had been, this original trapped emotion about JFK, November 1963. Where had this been all of her life? And so what I did is I asked if it was on the right side of her body. No. Was it in her abdomen? No. Chest area? Yes. It was actually in the area of her left breast. And all of a sudden, she and I just kind of stared at each other because 4 years before, she had had that breast removed because it was malignant. See? Do you think there's a connection? I think there is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Wow, that's really fascinating stuff. Going back really quickly to the muscles, you know, as a personal trainer, I used to train that way in the sense of holistic training, where if someone hated doing shoulders, like they hated exercising their shoulders, I knew people hate doing the things that they feel the weakest at.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're weak in their shoulders and they hate exercising their shoulders, they most likely feel like the weight of the world is on their shoulders. So to be able to help them move that emotion, then they were able to train better in personal training, you know?
Yeah, that's a great insight. Absolutely right.
Doris had a question, but you kind of already answered it. And she goes, I feel a bit psychic. So she's asking if you've ever studied how this might impact cancer diagnoses or other serious diseases.
Well, the thing is, every disease process that I have seen in 33 years has had an emotional component to it. Now, sometimes the emotional component is the only component. I think that's very possible in the woman that I just told you about the JFK trapped emotion. But every disease process has an emotional component. And so if you can find that emotional component, find that emotional baggage that is distorting the energy field in that area and remove that, then all these other things that you're doing may be enough to actually put you over the edge into the healing process, you see. But if you ignore the emotional component of your disease, you may do everything else right. You may be practicing positive mental attitude, and you might be taking all the right supplements and drinking juices and doing wheatgrass and all kinds of things and getting lots of exercise. And you could be doing chemo and radiation and everything else. But if you don't remove the emotional component, then one of the underlying causes of that problem will remain and maybe too much to enable the healing process to begin. Or if, let's say, for example, I've seen this many times, when somebody has a cancer, they get the cancer removed surgically, and yet the emotional baggage that was an underlying cause of that cancer is still there. And so then maybe that cancer reoccurs later and so on. So the emotion code, it's not a cure for cancer or a cure for anything. All it is just a simple way to find emotional baggage. And however, that emotional baggage we see is, in our experience, an underlying cause of just about everything, just about every disease process and symptom, whether it's mental or emotional or physical, that we suffer from as human beings, but also animals as well. And what's really fun about the emotion code is that there's a whole chapter in there on animals. And I tell people all the time, if you know how to do the emotion code for people, you know how to do it for animals. It's the exact same process. We use the exact same chart of emotions. And 90% of animals' behavioral problems and their physical issues actually are rooted in their emotional baggage. And we have people that just work with animals now, just using the emotion code. In fact, we have one of our practitioners is a woman in France who does the emotion code long distance on thoroughbred racehorses around the world, and makes a great living and gets phenomenal results. So anything's possible.
That's I just had an experience with a person in Canada. Their puppy dog was, so they said, "Oh, can you just see what you can find out?" And I'm like, "Okay." And it came down to sadness, but it came out to being like sensitive to the sadness of the owner, you know, because like the emotional state that you're carrying is affecting your environment. I said, this happened because I knew the puppy was adopted. So I'm thinking, oh, you got this dog from the pound and this is where it was at. I said, this is what happened about, the puppy was about 2.5, 3 years old. And she goes, oh, actually, that's when I separated from my partner and I was really sad. I'm like, oh, totally surprised me because I was thinking something completely different, but I was just asking. The information comes up, I ask the question, I muscle test. And I do the flick text, the muscle testing through the flick technique for those people watching.
Right.
So strong, it stays there. When I say no, it instantly just releases. And what I found, like I had oil on my hand once and I'm like, oh, this is just going to slip off the whole. It stayed there for yes when it wouldn't be able to hold anything else and instantly released. I know exactly the same way it was when I do a session. I was like, really? The energy is everything. And I feel like as you were talking before of like what it can and can't do, and I feel like energy is like right down there at the molecular structure of everything. Yeah. So when you have a ball of energy, it's like that's out of placement. I feel it's like having a magnet next to your compass on your airplane. I'm flying this way and I'm flying as hard as I can. Oh, but I'm not reaching my goal because you're being pulled off course constantly by this ball of energy such as a magnet next to your compass. You and your own energetic life, your own energetic health, the desires, the choices you're making could be pulled off by not just your energy, but by an inherited imbalance that's somewhere.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that's a great analogy, by the way, the compass analogy. And I can't believe I never thought of that. And I'm a pilot. I've got a compass right here when I fly.
But you would love that one.
He's the analogy king. Yeah, we still have to come out and fly with you on your plane.
Yeah,
so we're excited to do that.
It's going to be better if we fly with you than just fly.
Yeah. That's
for sure. Drive up and then we'll fly.
What are we do now? I don't know.
So back to what you were talking about the emotion being like the core cause. So one of the things I've always taught people is that the body is like a triangle where you've got the physical body on the bottom, you've got your mental body in the middle, and you've got your emotional, spiritual, or psychological body, your mindset at the top, or emotions at the top. So if you change something just on the physical, it's not permanent. And I discovered this in weight loss because I worked with extreme weight loss. Mm-hmm. And so I could give them the diet, I could give them the food and the exercise, but if I didn't change this and the emotions and get rid of the emotions and baggage, it wasn't going to be permanent. It would come back. And we see this happen all the time with lottery winners. They win $25 million. It changed on the physical. Yeah. But a year later, it's gone because they didn't work on the stuff that was there that didn't create the money in the first place.
Yeah, exactly right.
Doris says emotional chiropractors.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you talk about weight loss. A lot of people are overweight because of emotional eating. And, it's a coping mechanism to try to deal with stress. And so there are, you think about the COVID-19, the extra 19 pounds that everybody gained that people talk about. And that was an attempt really to deal with stress. But what we find is that when people learn the emotion code, and if they've got an issue with emotional eating, it's so simple. All they have to do is when they have that urge to eat that whole pan of brownies or whatever it might be, they can just stop and test themselves and ask, do I have a trapped emotion that is driving this feeling that I should eat this pan of brownies? And if they find that emotion and release it, we've had people lose as much as their entire body weight in a year just doing that simple method, just finding the baggage that's actually behind the emotional feelings about eating. And then what happens is inevitably when they release that emotion, that feeling passes and the pan of brownies remains uneaten, or the gallon of ice cream or whatever. Yeah,
it is. I find that this is why I said this is my go-to now instead of any other modality. I mean, this is so much. And the app, there's an app that you can use that's phenomenal that to help with all this. Everything's provided for you to have ultimate success. And by getting the book, you'll learn how to do it yourself. So I've actually noticed that with money matters and clients in events where they're nervous or they have an emotion comes up when we talk about a price of something that they want. I'm like, well, let's see where this originates. And then people have come back like a day later and go, I haven't had any of that fear. I haven't had any of that anxiety about making this decision. Then 6 months later, they're like, oh, Jamie, thank you so much. My life's completely changed. I've got this new deal and this new. So people that have emotional elements associated with success, business, career, it's the emotion that's keeping them online.
They're self-sabotaging.
Self-sabotaging, taking away the self-sabotaging trapped emotion, and then they have a more clean flow of their thoughts, their feelings, and their emotions. It's not having to go around a boulder. Boink, boink.
Yes, absolutely right. I mean, if you're stuck, you're not able to make the kind of money you want to make, or your life isn't turning out how you think it should be turning out, you have absolutely got to look at this, because it's all about your emotional baggage and getting rid of it. And if you've got a heart wall, you're going to be even more blocked. I mean, you can think of everybody that you know as, including you, as dragging around these suitcases that are tied to you, and the suitcases are full of rocks. And if you were to open up one of those suitcases and look at one of those rocks, well, this would be from junior high when you got dumped. And that steamer trunk back there, that's from great-great-great-grandpa from his experiences in the war, you know. And so you can cut loose from all that stuff. And then inevitably what people feel when they get to a certain point, and, you know, tell me if you haven't heard this or felt this yourself, it's almost like stepping out of this old skin you've been walking around in and into this new state of being that is on a higher vibration. And it makes it much easier to feel happiness and joy, no matter what's going on in the world. Would you guys find that?
Yes, I mean, we have leaned on this through COVID. We have very much leaned on the emotion code through this whole thing. And look, I could keep you here forever. I promised you it was only going to be a half hour, and we're way over time.
Wow.
I know.
Time flies when you're emotionally charged.
But GMG has one question.
True.
I think it's a good question. And so he says, what are a few things parents can do daily to encourage or promote sound emotional health for their kids? Oftentimes kids feel the need to always be happy and good kids instead of being honest with their feelings. Right.
Well, you know, kids can learn how to do this, and it's actually tremendously empowering for them, because they start to realize when they start to work on themselves, or you work on them, and as a parent, they start to get an education about what emotions really are. And the last chapter of the book has some great pointers in there about how you can live without developing new trapped emotions. And a couple of those things really quickly. One of those is that children and adults both can learn that we choose our emotions. We can choose. We have the power to choose. Most people go through life thinking that they're really at the mercy of their emotions, and that if anger comes up for them, they have no choice but to feel that, or resentment, or whatever it is. But you can choose different emotions. You can choose higher level emotions, but that becomes easier as you get rid of more emotional baggage. Another thing that's important to understand for adults and for children as well is the principle of forgiveness. Because you see, you can't really have peace in your life if there's someone that you haven't forgiven. And sometimes people live their entire lives, I mean, decades and decades, having someone that they can't forgive. And sometimes it can be really difficult because maybe that person has really hurt you. But ultimately, if you can find the strength to really truly forgive from your heart, it sets you free. And that reminds me of of Lewis Smedes, who said, forgiveness is like setting the prisoner free, only to find out that the prisoner was you. And kids can learn this too, see, and it's a powerful, powerful principle. So getting rid of the emotional baggage that you have can really facilitate your ability to forgive. And it's a wonderful thing.
And when you're working on you, you're also working on your kids and your future DNA, right? I would assume.
Well, you know, not all trapped emotions are passed down. Okay. But the way that we do it is if you're pregnant, for example, and there's a baby in there after about 3 months of development, you can actually start testing that baby to see if that baby has any emotional baggage or anything that they've inherited and so on. And so that by the time the baby is born, the baby has a totally clean slate.
Wow, that's cool.
That is go through life that way.
Cool. Yeah.
Can I be reborn?
I just want to jump back 52 years, but then you haven't created the system yet. It took you 17 years to put all this together for people to benefit from. My maths has now gone sideways.
Awesome.
What I have noticed, though, which may help their GMG as well, is that when I've worked with a family dynamic, working with the parents and getting all that, they're less reactive and they're putting less fuel into these things that are triggering them. There's less pressure energetically in the household to be a certain way or act a certain way. So the children, all of a sudden, is like, oh, the kids are so much better. Thanks for work. I haven't worked with the kids yet. I'm still just working with you. And they're like, oh, really? Yeah.
It's really interesting because there's kind of a resonance that happens in families. If you take one person in a family and you start removing that one person's emotional baggage, it does have an effect on everybody else. So it's amazing stuff.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Our live is like on fire right now. They're loving this. They're like, oh my God, I need this book. They're like, this is amazing. And they're just very, very thrilled to get to meet you. So I'm so honored that you came and joined us.
So honored.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you feel you're on a right?
Am I?
How honored are you?
Am I honored at 10? I'm 10.
You're a 10. No, you're only a 10. I'm an 11. Dr. Brad, so
yeah, I'm an 11 too.
Yeah, you see, so we won. High five!
Awesome.
Thank you both.
So much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right, you guys, grab his book. He's amazing, and just give him a warm welcome. Thank you. So PC Phil said, good stuff. Do we have?
Thank you, Dr. Brad.
Do we have a prize ready to go?
I do have a prize. Well, a prize wheel.
Yeah,
I got prize wheel names.
We got prize wheel names. What
I don't have prize wheel.
What are we going to give them?
Um,
we can give them an emotion code session with you. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can. We can. If you guys have enjoyed this this experience here, then absolutely we can give one of you people the opportunity for me to do it with
Jamie
you.
goes, Jamie, are you fanboying a little like Amy did with Barbara? Yes.
I truly am.
Yes.
Like it took Dr. Bradley Nelson 17 years of not just doing what he did to help people heal, but observing that why did it work? Why has this worked for these people or not? What's the missing link? What's the element that is restricting me from helping everybody heal the body? The body naturally wants to heal. Like, I know that myself. I was going to get my leg amputated when I was an 11-year-old. And I'm like, I don't want that. They said, well, you'll never be able to walk again with it. And I said, well, I'd rather have a leg that I can't use than not have one at all. And then a couple of years later, I was able to walk and then run. And then I went on to be a representative rugby player and an international stunt actor. So I went to doing really physical things. So I know the body wants to heal itself. What stops everybody from having that opportunity? And so I really appreciate the genius, the knowledge, and the heart that goes into someone like Dr. Bradley Nelson to be able to create a system out of his own awareness over 17 years, put it together in a book so everyone can benefit from it. And I just love that about this man. And his system is so easy. I mean, after learning all these other modalities, to find this one, I'm like super blessed that this even exists. So
okay, let's spin that wheel.
Let's spin the wheel and see who gets a deal, huh?
All right, let's go. Is PC Phil on there?
I have not.
Put PC Peppers on there.
Or GMG.
And GMG. And we got Jenny, Doris, Evans family.
Okay, you read them all out for me, and I'll say yes or no if they're.
Cami Express.
Yes.
PC Phil.
Yes.
Evans. Okay, I think that's everybody.
We got you.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to double you guys up here for a second, make it more interesting.
You all get double entries.
All
right, let's
so those of you that were here earlier even got more entries.
Let's go.
Woo! Boom, bop, boom, bump, bump, chip, bump, cheap, bump. Bump, bump, cheap, bump, cheap, bump. Oh! Who?
Oh, Jenny, Loki, Jenny!
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
It's actually Jenny's birthday. So for your birthday,
You
I'm
got
going
a
to
session.
delve into your psychic past. No, I'm not.
And you guys, this is a $200 prize. So yeah, this is amazing.
And Amy just freely gave away that.
I did,
And
I
my
did.
time.
I did. So
But it's an honor for me to be able to help any of you out there.
congrats, Jenny. Thank you guys so much. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning.
Make sure you go grab this.
Yep. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. on Middle World Herbs.
Oh, now remember, when you get a book and discover a book, you're actually linking minds and holding hands with an author that's taking you on a journey of new discovery.
So read often, because reading is power. Knowledge is power. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tag along with Amy and Jamie while we meet the authors. Right here on Amazon Live. Ask questions to win a prize from your favorite author's life. So come on, just tag along with Amy and Jamie while we meet the authors. Right here on Amazon Live. Ask questions to win a prize from your favorite author's life.